Now, obviously, how we're thinking about race relations right now has been colored by Ferguson. The Garner case in New York, a growing awareness in the broader population of what I think many communities of color have understood for some time, and that is that there are specific instances. At least where law enforcement doesn't feel as if it's being applied in a colorblind fashion. The task force that I formed is supposed to report back to me in 90 days, not with a bunch of abstract musings about race relations. But some really concrete, practical things that police departments and law enforcement agencies can begin implementing right now to rebuild trust between communities of color and the police department. And my intention is to, as soon as I get those recommendations, to start implementing them. Some of them we'll be able to do through executive action. Some of them will require congressional action. Some of them will require action on the part of states and local jurisdictions. But I actually think it's been a healthy conversation that we've had. These are not new phenomenon. The fact that they're now surfacing in part because people are able to film what have just been, in the past, stories passed on around a kitchen table. Allows people to make their own assessments and evaluations. And you're not going to solve a problem if it's not being talked about. In the meantime, we've been moving forward on criminal justice reform issues more broadly. One of the things I didn't talk about in my opening statement is the fact that last year was the first time in 40 years where we had the federal prison population go down and the crime rate go down at the same time. which indicates the degree to which it's possible for us to think smarter about who we're incarcerating, how long we're incarcerating, how are we dealing with nonviolent offenders. How are we dealing with drug offenses, diversion programs, drug courts? We can do a better job of and save money in the process by initiating some of these reforms. And I've been really pleased to see that we've had Republicans and Democrats in Congress who are interested in these issues as well. The one thing I will say, and this is going to be the last thing I say, is that one of the great things about this job is you get to know the American people. I mean, you meet folks from every walk of life and every region of the country, and every race and every faith. And what I don't think is always captured in our political debates is the vast majority of people. Are just trying to do the right thing, and people are basically good and have good intentions. Sometimes our institutions and our systems don't work as well as they should. Sometimes you've got a police department that has gotten into bad habits over a period of time and hasn't maybe surfaced some hidden biases that we all carry around. But if you offer practical solutions, I think people want to fix these problems. It's not this isn't. A situation where people feel good seeing somebody choked and dying. I think that troubles everybody. So, there's an opportunity of all of us to come together and to take a practical approach to these problems. And I guess that's my general theme for the end of the year, which is we've gone through difficult times. It is your job, press corps, to report on all the mistakes that are made and all the bad things that happen and the crises that look like they're popping. And I understand. That. But through persistent effort and faith in the American people. Things get better. The economy has gotten better. Our ability to generate clean energy has gotten better. We know more about how to educate our kids. We solved problems. Ebola is a real crisis. You get a mistake in the first case because it's not something that's been seen before we fix it. You have some unaccompanied children who spike at a border. And it may not get fixed in the time frame of the news cycle, but it gets fixed. And part of what I hope as we reflect on the new year this should generate is some confidence. America knows how to solve problems. And when we work together, we can't be stopped. And now I'm going to go on vacation. Meli Kaliki Maka, everybody. Mahalo. Thank you, everybody. Barack Obama. End of year press conference. Delivered December 18, 2015, White House, Washington, D. C. Good afternoon, everybody. Clearly, this is not the most important event that's taking place in the White House today. There is a screening of Star Wars for Gold Star families and children coming up. So I'll try to be relatively succinct. Let me say a few words about the year behind us and the year ahead, and then I'll take a few questions. As I look back on this year, one thing I see is that so much of our steady persistent work over the years is paying off for the American people in big, tangible ways. Our early actions to rescue the economy set the stage for the longest streak of private sector job growth on record, with 13.7 million new jobs in that time. The unemployment rate has been cut in half. Down to 5%. And most importantly, wages grew faster than at any time since the recovery began. So, over the course of this year, a lot of the decisions that we made early on have paid off. Years of steady implementation of the Affordable Care Act helped to drive the rate of the uninsured in America below 10% for the first time since records were kept on that. Healthcare prices have grown at their lowest levels in 5 decades, 17 million more Americans have gained coverage. And we now know that 6 million people have signed up through healthcare. Gov for coverage beginning on January 1, 600,000 on Tuesday alone. New customers are up 1/3 over last year. And the more who sign up, the stronger the system becomes. And that's good news for every American who no longer has to worry about being just one illness or accident away from financial hardship. On climate, our early investment in clean energy ignited a clean energy industry boom. Our actions to help reduce our carbon emissions brought China to the table. And last week, in Paris, nearly 200 nations forged an historic agreement that was only possible because of American leadership. Around the world, from reaching the deal to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. To re-establishing diplomatic relations with Cuba, to concluding a landmark trade agreement that will make sure that American workers and American businesses are operating on a level playing field, and that we, rather than China or other countries, are setting the rules for global trade. We have shown what is possible when America leads. And, after decades of dedicated advocacy, marriage equality became a reality in all 50 states. So, I just want to point out, I said at the beginning of this year that interesting stuff happens in the fourth quarter, and we are only halfway through. I do want to thank Congress for ending the year on a high note. I got to sign an education bill that is going to fix some of the challenges that we had with No Child Left Behind. And promises to invest more in high-quality early childhood education. We signed a transportation bill that, although not as robust as I think we need, still allows states and local governments to plan and actually get moving, putting people back to work, rebuilding our roads and our bridges. We got Exim Bank back to work supporting American exports. And today they passed a bipartisan budget deal. I'm not wild about everything in it, I'm sure that's true for everybody, but it is a budget that as I insisted, invests in our military and our middle class. Without ideological provisions that would have weakened Wall Street reform or rules on big polluters. It's part of an agreement that will permanently extend tax credits to 24 million working families. It includes some long-sought wins like strengthening America's leadership at the IMF. And because it eliminates the possibility of a shutdown for the first time or for the first 9 months of next year. Congress and I have a long runway to get some important things done on behalf of the American people. Now, there's still a lot of work to do. For example, there's still a lot more that Congress can do. To promote job growth and increase wages in this country. I still want to work with Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, to reform our criminal justice system. And earlier today I commuted the sentences of 95 men and women who had served their debt to society. Another step forward in upholding our fundamental ideals of justice and fairness. And, of course, our most important job is to keep Americans safe. I've had a lot to say about that this week, but let me reiterate. The United States continues to lead a global coalition in our mission to destroy ISIL. ISIL has already lost about 40% of the populated areas it once controlled in Iraq. And it's losing territory in Syria. As we keep up the pressure, our air campaign will continue to hit ISIL harder. Than ever, taking out their leaders, their commanders, and their forces. We're stepping up our support for partners on the ground as they push ISIL back. Our men and women in uniform are carrying out their mission with trademark professionalism and courage. And this holiday season, All of us are united in our gratitude for their service. And we are thankful to their families, as well, because they serve alongside those who are actually deployed.